That was Prime Minister Narendra Modi interacting with students and Indian community members in Muscat, Oman. The program was Bharat-Oman Maitri Parv, a special engagement between Prime Minister and the community members. And in that interaction, Prime Minister presented the whole India story from all aspects, the manner in which Indian economy is growing in different sectors, but also the manner in which India-Oman ties have been strengthened through various domains. He also appealed to students to take forward this legacy of partnership and development, giving them bold ideas of dreaming. Presenting the India story, Prime Minister also spoke about how, particularly in the education sector, great transformations have taken place. Number of institutions have increased, opportunities have increased in science, tech and space as well. Those were some of the highlights of Prime Minister's address in the special community program engaging with students in Oman. It also is important to note that it's been 50 years of Indian schooling taking place in Oman, Indian schools which host students of Indian diaspora, but also thousands of students from other sections of society in Oman. Taking forward this program, the Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, or CEPA, with Oman has also been signed. Let's look at some of the highlights of what this agreement did. It marks a major step in deepening India's economic engagement with the Gulf region. This is Oman's second FTA with an individual country and the first FTA they are doing in about 20 years. Those are some of the highlights on your screen. The agreement is expected to enhance market access, promote investments and strengthen cooperation across key sectors. It will support trade, diversification and supply chain resilience at a time of global economic realignment. We're looking at some of the highlights of India-Oman Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, CEPA. In the last few years, India has signed many FTAs which are reaping rewards for farmers, traders and exporters. And let me once again welcome Mr. Atul Aneja, Foreign Affairs expert who continues to be with us. Mr. Aneja, two important addresses by Prime Minister Modi in a short interval. Let's talk about the latest one, the Maitri Parv between India and Oman, engaging with the next generation really of India-Oman population in partnership, engaging with the students and also talking about how hitherto India-Oman trade connect was seen as the bedrock of the partnership, and now education becomes another important pillar.
Shubhendu, it just shows that the people-to-people connect between India and Oman is reaching an altogether new level. It is taking place in a new context when compared to what used to be earlier. And I think it is very futuristic the way the Prime Minister listed some of the areas in which there can be a deeper engagement between Indian young people especially and the mother country, which is India. And he spoke specially about the Yuvika program, space, AI, green technology, and student exchanges which will be familiarized with these advanced areas. He also talked about the India story. It connected the opportunities for people of Oman, especially young people of Oman, about the India's rise towards a developed economy 2047, the strides which aspirations we have of having a space station in not so distant in the future. Our focus on not only AI but quantum technology, green hydrogen. So and India is the pharmacy of the world. So frankly, it was the India story which you said in a nutshell, but how people of Oman can dock into the India story. I think that was the thematic line under which a sort of many specifics fell. So I thought this was an exceptional speech, gives a vision of India and also a hope for the future, and an invitation for people of Oman and people of Indian origin in Oman to be a partner in this fantastic journey.
Right. Ambassador Prabhu Dayal, Prime Minister there addressing the Maitri Parv, has been 50 years of Indian schooling in Oman, interacting with young students, presenting the India story, but more importantly, as Mr. Aneja mentioned, inviting Oman to be part of this India story, especially the new generation.
Well, absolutely. You know, Prime Minister is remarkable in his outreach to the Indian community. I served 37 years in the Foreign Service and never did I witness any of our leaders reaching out to the community in this manner as Prime Minister Modi does. His address was so endearing, you could see how people in the audience were totally thrilled to be there and hearing the Prime Minister. And his message was very clear how the Indian community can be part of the developmental process in India, and of course, serve as a bridge between India and Oman by playing a positive role for Oman's future also. So he spelled out a vision which was very, very encouraging and touched upon a number of areas, like, for instance, education, renewable energy, infrastructure development, and also new areas of science and technology, like space, where he specifically invited the Omanis to be part of the Indian story. He pointed out that there is already an agreement between Oman and India, but he very candidly welcomed Omanis to come to the Indian space ventures in Bangalore and see for themselves what India is doing. So he tried in every possible manner to spell out the success story of India while also um encouraging the Indian community in a variety of ways to be part of this growing partnership between the two countries.
Ambassador Prabhudeval, also we know that Oman is home to some 700,000 members of the Indian diaspora. These young students, the new generation of this diaspora, was present in this gathering when Prime Minister presents the India story, and in those very finer points, takeaways, as if in a classroom. What kind of an impact do you think it has on the young generation who would like to also look back at what is the mothership, the mother nation doing?
Well, the impact was very visible from the photo coverage that you showed, from the visuals, the video coverage. People were totally enamored by what the Prime Minister said. You know, he has such a winning way of reaching out to people. You could see whether it was young children or women in the crowd or older people, everybody was regularly applauding Prime Minister for what he said. So there is no doubt that his words touched the audience deeply and conveyed the message in a very sincere manner. The Prime Minister is extremely sincere in his message and in the manner he conveys it. I can tell you that no global leader has this sort of a standing, and nobody gets the sort of welcome in different places where he goes from the community as our Prime Minister does. So this is very, very significant, and it was also evident from the manner in which the Indian community members in that auditorium where he gathered, where he was addressing them, was able to appreciate whatever the Prime Minister's message was to them.
Mr. Atul Aneja, whether we talk about Prime Minister's engagement with the students, his invitation to Omani students to come visit India, look at the story from close quarters, participate in it, or the SEPA agreement that was being talked about earlier, this visit of Prime Minister, the three-nation visit in the larger context, was also seen as the manner in which it would be an important outreach to West Asia, to Africa, the manner in which India represents the voice of the global South. In that context, how do you see these particular developments become very significant?
Shubhendu, I was just thinking exactly on the your line of questioning which you have done. I think what comes out very fundamentally is our concept of neighborhood. Usually that concept was at one time only confined to our South Asian neighborhood. Then we had this concept of extended neighborhood. But this is really neighborhood. It is when Prime Minister talks and invites people of Myanmar, young people of Myanmar, to participate in Indian projects. It's nothing but an expression that you are part of our neighborhood, that you are with us, you are in the inner circle of friends. I think that is what is changing, Shubhendu. That our optics, our bandwidth of neighborhood is changing. And this was very visible in which the clarity and the emotion with which the Prime Minister addressed young people of Oman. You talked about Ethiopia. Well, that is also, I mean, a little further away, but
Yes.
then again, special ties with Indian Ocean countries. And what you mentioned, and which became very visible at the G20, which we hosted in 2023, that we have a special relationship with the global South, especially with Africa, and that too with the east coast of Africa. There's a huge people connect as well, because if you see, and I was actually talking to some people from China a few days ago, and they were envious of our people-to-people connect in Africa. They said, we don't have that connection which you guys have. And that makes, again, the relationship with Africa and Ethiopia a symbol of that. Again, a very close and people-to-people connected relationship. But I thought Oman really is just neighborhood and not only physical proximity, but a very strong emotional connect as well.
Right. Ambassador Prabhu Dayal, from your rich experience in diplomacy, we've been talking about the importance, the power of people-to-people connect between India and the countries that Prime Minister is visiting. Here in Oman, addressing the students, the Indian diaspora community members, Prime Minister highlighted, he said that because they've come from different parts of India, it represents a mini India, the diversity of India. But he also said this very intrinsic sense of diversity and respect for diversity also helps Indians assimilate abroad. That's a very important point to make, and that also really is the USP, as it were, if I may say, of the Indian diaspora. Would you say that, sir?
Well, the Indian diaspora is a bridge of friendship between India and the countries where they reside. Now, I used to say of the Indian diaspora, and incidentally, I served 7.5 years in the Gulf, 3 years as ambassador in Kuwait, and more than 4 years as consul general in Dubai. And I found that you can take an Indian out of India, but you can't take India out of an Indian. They are full of love for their motherland. They live far away, but India always dwells in their hearts. And their behavior, the manner in which they work is exemplary. And that is why they enjoy respect in the countries where they live. They don't take part in any sort of negative activities. They are an engine of growth, and they promote friendship between India and their countries of residence. Now, very significantly, it was evident from whatever we witnessed during Prime Minister's speech, that the Indian community follows closely developments in India. What Prime Minister was saying struck chords of familiarity, chords of affection within the Indian community. You can see it in the visuals which you are showing on your screen. So let me put it this way. The Indian community has played an extremely positive role, and I think that it is important to continue to utilize the services of the Indian community in different countries for strengthening India's bilateral relations and also the regional connect. And incidentally, Prime Minister has focused on this. One of the key aspects of Prime Minister's policy is Link West, which is to increase the relationship with countries of West Asia, because these countries are extremely significant, and there is a huge Indian community residing in these countries. So it is significant that Prime Minister is making it a point to reach out to the Indian community in places where he visits and motivates them to work for the good of India and also India's relations with those countries.
Right. Let's also get some updates from the ground. DD India correspondent Gautam Roy is joining us live from Muscat, Oman. Gautam, we just listened to the charged up address by Prime Minister in a packed hall full of students and Indian and Omani community members. How was Prime Minister's address received? And if you can briefly take us through what lies ahead.
Yes, Shubhendu, you heard the Prime Minister's speech where he highlighted how India has been making rapid progress, and he also reached out to the Indian diaspora in Oman to take the message out to their Omani counterparts as well and ensure that they learn about India, the kind of progress that India has been making, the kind of capabilities that India has mustered, which it can lend to Oman as well. Now that we're getting to the business end really of the engagement, where the action will very quickly now, within half an hour, shift to the Beit al-Baraka Palace. That's well, literally a house of grace in Arabic, where the Prime Minister will be received by Sultan Haitham bin Tariq, the head of state here and the ruler of the Sultanate of Oman. They'll have a tete-a-tete, then delegation level talks, and then they'll witness the exchange and the signing of the SEPA, the Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, which has been the most talked about event as far as this visit, the second visit of Prime Minister Modi to Oman is concerned, where tariffs will be taken to zero for a number of goods and services. They will be low for some more, and a lot of other easing of restrictions will take place, which will open up not just Oman to Indian exports and businesses, but well, even Africa, Central Europe, and shall we say even the US, which has raised a huge tariff war against India. Well, that might slightly come down because of the kind of SEPA or the trade agreement that Oman already has with the US. The dividends are expected to be as rich, if not richer, compared to the SEPA that we have with the United Arab Emirates, the only other Gulf nation that we have such a deal with. Of course, there are other deals of similar nature in the work in this region as well. The GCC, the 6 countries, they've not been able to come together to have a collective trade agreement with India. So this bilateral route is then being taken very effectively. We've seen in the case of the UAE, and the similar results are expected in case of Oman as well now, that Oman is partnering with India in this manner. And Oman is also looking to diversify its own economy from oil and gas. Prime Minister mentioned renewable energy. Prime Minister mentioned the kind of capabilities India has in steel, in cell phones, in infrastructure,
right.
in so many other fields, medicine. But he talked about the vaccines that came to Oman as well, because India sent it out to different parts of the world during the COVID phase. So the kind of capabilities that India can muster, Oman can provide a lot of funding as well. Their banks are looking now to do business through the SEPA with India as well. So the possibilities are endless, really. I'm told the $10.6 billion of trade that took place last year, in the last financial year, can easily more than double in less than 5 years.
There, Gautam, thank you for joining us with those inputs. We'll keep coming back to you for more. Also, many thanks, Ambassador Prabhu Dayal and Mr. Atul Aneja, for joining us in this special presentation and sharing your perspective. With that, we conclude this special presentation, but our comprehensive coverage of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's 3-nation visit, it's in the final leg in Oman, will continue after a short break. Namaskar.
For sustainability to become more than just a statement, it needs to be practical and seamlessly fit into our lives.
If we are thinking about a net zero economy, and obviously automobile sector is at the center of this transformation. Instead of buying new vehicle, if I can retrofit and upgrade my existing vehicle, environmentally speaking, it is superior.
Zero waste means repair, reuse, analyze.
We realized that if women became involved in decision making and generated income, the whole family would benefit.
Before, we needed a lot of manpower to handle the waste. But now, with the conveyor belt,
It converts the waste into electricity, powering 2 farms.
हो गया इंतजाम।
किसका?
गुड्डी की फीस का।
दिखा। 20,000 का लोन तुरंत। पता है कौन दे रहा है, ब्याज कितना है? लोन विनियमित संस्थानों से ही लें और कर्ज उतना जितनी जरूरत, वो भी जांच कर। हो गया इंतजाम। पगार एडवांस में भेजिए।
आरबीआई कहता है
सही वित्तीय बर्ताव करे आपका बचाव।
Can the US launch a bombing campaign against Iran? The Philippines vessel suffered structural damage. The saga of child sexual abuse. Is the United States China's debt trap strategy? Truth is stranger than fiction. But sometimes hard to uncover. Trust us to tell the truth, unadulterated and pure, of every story that matters to you. You read between the lines, cut the clutter, and connect the dots to get you the full picture. Watch Connecting the Dots at these times with me, only on DD India. Green technology can really help protect our planet if it doesn't harm our communities in the process. Hello and welcome. I am Sadhika Tiwari and you're watching Eco India. We need technology that respects nature and expands opportunities that build skills, create fair work and protect our landscapes. Today we look beyond grand promises and big machines to small practical technologies that can also change lives and meet people who are showing us how it's done. India loses a fifth of its total fruits and vegetables simply because proper storage isn't available. But in Odisha's Rourkela, a group of women is changing that, showing how simple use of solar technology can really make a big difference.
Pumpkins, pumpkins, pumpkins. Just 20 rupees for you. It's been a long day for the vendors trying to sell produce at Rourkela's markets. And things get harder as the heat starts to spoil fruits and vegetables that are not sold quickly enough. We would bring our vegetables here in a van and take any leftovers back with us in the same vehicle. About 25% would spoil on the way. At Part-2 market in Rourkela, local resident Sumina Sonu Badla has seen what this means for the prices vendors are able to charge.
If the market rate is 40 rupees or about 40 euro cents, they let it go for rupees 10 just to avoid taking it back. Sometimes they'd even have to throw it away. After all their hard work, they wouldn't even recover a day's wage. It left many farmers feeling helpless. Some would even cry.
As one of the largest food producers in the world, India harvests more than 300 million metric tons of fruit and vegetables each year. But a large proportion never makes it out to our plates. That's mainly due to produce going bad due to a lack of storage facilities in a hot country. For the average farmer, it means income loss even when a harvest is good. But a pilot project started by the Rourkela Municipal Corporation has a solution. It has set up solar-powered mini cold rooms across the city. They're run by women like Tulasi Dash.
We charge just 3 rupees or 3 euro cents per day for each crate. That's a small amount and very affordable for farmers. Before, they used to lose hundreds of rupees worth of produce due to spoilage. That was disheartening. Now, for just 3 rupees, they have less waste and earn more.
The localized model aims to disrupt the national cold chain market, which is still monopolized by wholesalers and middlemen. With a minimal charge and easy access, it is specifically designed with the small-scale farmers in mind.
This is a 30 metric ton cold room with 3 chambers, each set to a different temperature range. We have a list specifying the ideal temperature for each type of vegetable, and we store them accordingly in the respective chambers.
The cold rooms run on solar power. This keeps them independent of the electricity grid, which can be unreliable, says its managing director.
The solar panels of all the 5 sets cumulative is around 80 kilowatt. So per year there is a saving of around 1 lakh units. 1 lakh unit saving is done. Yeah. These cold storages are, you can see it is a reliable cold storage with 24/7 supply, because in the daytime it runs with the solar energy, and during the night time it has a backup of thermal storage.
And there are tricks to optimize the system, Tulasi Das tell us. For instance, if tomatoes are picked along with their stems before storage, they stay fresh for longer.
I assist and guide the farmers and vendors who come here, making them aware of the proper steps to follow while storing or removing vegetables from the cold room.
It is still dark when Sumina Sonu Barla starts work. As part of the group running the cold storage units, today is her turn to collect vegetables from the local market and store them in the Panposh market cold room. The cooperative is made up of 10 women. They take turns running operations. That means receiving produce from farmers, maintaining temperature logs, managing deliveries, and running the organic community store.
Before, we didn't have a secure income. Now, I have a regular salaried job. We started with 500 rupees, or roughly 5 euros, then 5,000 rupees. And now we are making sales of about 700,000 rupees monthly.
Between 2015 and 2021, India lost close to 70 million hectares of cropland due to floods, excess rains and drought. In the age of climate change, the need for a robust cold chain ecosystem has become even more urgent, especially for farmers, who are the hardest hit. This project, supported by the United Nations Development Programme, UNDP and Bloomberg Philanthropies, offers some respite to the city of Rourkela. Across its 5 markets, more than 1,500 farmers have access to the cold rooms. Around 500 use them regularly. A UNDP survey reports that over the last 4 years, food wastage in Rourkela has dropped by a third. Another study shows that farmers' incomes have risen in the region. And behind these promising results, a small group of women are hard at work, supporting both themselves and the smallholders in their corner of the country.
For decades, big hydropower projects have come at a very steep cost. Rivers choked, forests lost, communities forced out of their own land. But what if, instead of drowning our valleys, we learnt how to work with flowing waters? In our next story, we follow gentler, smaller hydropower technologies that aim to keep the rivers alive and communities rooted.
Imagine standing next to this reservoir, and somewhere underneath the surface lies the town you used to live in. When India built the Tehri Dam in Uttarakhand, up to 100,000 people had to pack up and leave. This is not an unusual story. Hydropower dams are often seen as monuments to progress, though they come at a huge cost. But what if we could harness the immense power of water without having to build destructive megastructures? Let's follow the water, starting from a small creek, accompanying the river downstream and ending at the ocean. We begin our journey here, where the stream is still quite small. We find a little sidearm, a canal leading into the stream. In it sits a whirlpool, generating energy. This is a vortex power plant. The idea is simple. Water flows into a round basin. This one is about 4 meters wide. In the middle, a turbine with wide blades. The water swirls down as in a bathtub drain, spinning the turbine, which drives a generator. The result, electricity, but only enough for some 15 average European households. Usually fish the size of a small trout can swim straight through. Compared to big dams that block migration routes, these small power plants have much less impact. Still, these vortex plants can change how the river flows and the habitats within it. There are just about 35 of these power plants in the world. Because they are less efficient than their bigger cousins, their output is naturally smaller too, given their much smaller size. So these plants are best for supplying small communities, factories or mini-grids. For areas with bigger power needs, they're a hard sell.
One thing is, small hydropower is fairly complicated compared to, let's say, solar.
That's Lydia Powell, a public policy advisor and expert on renewable energies. So in remote areas with small streams, it can provide local independent energy, especially alongside solar and wind. Our next stop, a big river. Here the fundamental idea is even simpler. Just float a turbine in the current. That's the principle behind the storm buoyer, or power buoy. It looks a bit like a submarine hull, with a propeller. Anchored in the flow of the river, the rotor spins as the water pushes past it, turning the kinetic energy of the river's current into electricity. The technology has been around for nearly 20 years, but many early devices clogged, generated too little power, or couldn't send it to shore. Powerboy's output also dropped over time, and the project was abandoned in 2025. Even so, companies are testing new hydrokinetic designs. Early results look promising, though it's unclear if they can work at scale. But there would be no dams, no flooding, fish could pass freely, and the buoy could be moved or removed. Proponents of the technology see huge potential in big rivers round the world. It might also work in strong tidal currents. An initial analysis by the inventor of the hydrokinetic turbine puts the untapped potential peak output in South and Southeast Asia's rivers at 70 gigawatts. That's the equivalent to the capacity of almost 30 dams, like the one in Teri. So if this technology proves efficient enough, kinetic turbines could eventually become a local and renewable power source. Now we've reached the mouth of the river, the place where fresh water meets the sea. Another interesting hydropower idea is being tested here, osmotic energy. The concept makes use of the different salinity of each water type. This is how it works. An osmotic power plant taps into the natural difference between a river's low salt content and the high salinity of seawater. The two waters are kept apart by a special membrane. Fresh water, shown in green, naturally moves through the membrane to balance the salt levels and pushes up the water on the seawater side. That rise creates osmotic pressure, which can then drive a turbine to generate clean power. This is just one form of osmotic energy creation. Norway built the world's first pilot osmotic power plant in 2010, using that mix of river water and seawater to generate energy. But by 2013, the project had shut down.
The amount of water we needed to transport in pipes, channels, tunnels, whatever, that in itself was very expensive. We have shown that it works, but the next step is to make it commercially viable.
One of the takeaways from the test plant in Norway was that most river mouths likely aren't ideal places to set up such a plant. Osmosis works best where there are even higher differences in salt concentrations.
As long as you have high concentrations versus low, then you can sort of harvest energy this way.
That's Sandra Kentish, a chemical engineering professor and membrane researcher at the University of Melbourne. Today there are two working osmotic power plants in the world, one in Denmark and one in Fukuoka, Japan. Neither uses a difference between river and seawater. The Danish project uses brine from a salt mine. This brine has a much higher salt concentration than seawater. And it's not only regular salt, sodium chloride, that can be used for osmotic power generation.
Sodium chloride, potassium chloride, lithium chloride, it doesn't matter as long as you have a high ionic strength, so a lot of ions, a lot of salt. It doesn't matter what salt it is.
The other existing osmotic power plant in Japan just opened in 2025. Here osmosis works its magic, using treated wastewater and concentrated brine from a desalination plant to power its turbines. The goal is to replace the brine altogether in the future and figure out a way to use seawater instead. because, well, about 97% of the world's water is seawater. Cost remains the biggest obstacle. The membranes are still expensive and work efficiently only in specific conditions. So electricity from osmotic power still costs much more than other renewable sources. These three examples show that it's possible to harness the power of water in gentle ways and in certain circumstances. None of these solutions will replace huge dams tomorrow, but combined with other technologies, they could add to a clean energy mix and work as decentralized systems 24/7 and in all seasons. And maybe that's the real innovation, learning how to work with the flow of rivers rather than against them.
Power cuts interrupting important work is of course a huge inconvenience. But most of us in India have experienced this at some point. In fact, in my personal experience, even until some 10-15 years ago, it was very common even in Delhi. Now, in parts of rural India, simple low-cost tech is changing that. Let's see how a stable supply of clean energy can really change villages and help build greener, cleaner futures.
Science teacher Geeta Kumari has a dream: to see her village become modern and eco-friendly. I would love for the village to be cleaner. I dream of wider roads that are free from garbage and that our water would be clean. Geeta Kumari lives in Sirsa Machipur, a village in the state of Uttar Pradesh. Although close to the capital Delhi, life here is still very traditional. The 18-year-old works at the local secondary school. She is one of the few women in the village to have completed her education. Today she is teaching students to convert Celsius to Fahrenheit. Most villagers in Sirsa Machipur depend on agriculture and non-renewable energy. Electricity, if available, is costly and unreliable. Low literacy rates and a large number of students dropping out from high school are persistent problems, because the unreliable electricity makes it hard for students to do homework. India's energy needs are projected to grow by 5.5% in 2025. That could either deepen reliance on fossil fuels or drive a shift toward clean energy, like here in northern India's Palli village, which is now connected to a 200 kilowatt solar-powered mini-grid. Shruti Galhotra is 23 years old and is a software developer. She tells us that the mini-grid has transformed the lives of people in her village. Now, solar power runs automatically. First it goes to the grid, then we get electricity. We can use everything. Motor pumps for the water, we have fans, lights and even refrigerators, all powered by solar energy. Down in South India, Meenangadi village in the state of Kerala is charting its own eco-friendly journey. Farmers plant geotagged trees, tracked by an app for age and health indicators. In return, the panchayat or village council deposits money into their bank accounts on one condition: the trees must not be cut. In many of India's villages, trees are cut down for firewood for use in traditional chulha stoves. However, here in Meenangadi, many families have made the switch to cleaner biogas. Organic waste is converted into methane and CO2 in biogas chambers. The gas that is produced as a result can then be used for cooking instead of using wood. While solutions exist, they aren't always applied. Many solar pumps, cookers and biogas plants go unused and fall into disrepair. Each village has its own unique problems, so we cannot apply a one-size-fits-all model. We need to develop a scientifically sound, yet simple model that local people can understand and implement. Across India, open trash burning is a major source of air pollution. Meenangadi has a different approach and is leading the way with a comprehensive waste management system.
We are achieved 100% of the waste management. Each the wards, they are assigned 2 people to collect the waste in the household level. Then the waste are going to the centralized segregation center in Meenangadi Panchayat.
All right, let's go across to Oman now. And we are getting you these visuals where Prime Minister Narendra Modi is interacting with the Indian community, with the students. And we all know that wherever Prime Minister Narendra Modi goes, whenever he gets this opportunity to interact with the Indian community, the Indian students, he always does that. And this indeed is a very, very significant visit by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, as India and Oman are celebrating 70 years of diplomatic ties. This indeed is a very important and significant visit in various ways as well, because it will open new pathways wherein both India and Oman will talk about various bilateral cooperation. You know, as far as the trade between both the countries is concerned, it's somewhere around $10 billion US. And with this visit by the Prime Minister, it will certainly get a fillip. Here on your screens, we are getting you visuals from Oman, Muscat, where Prime Minister Narendra Modi is interacting with their students. And indeed, like I said, this is a very, very significant visit by the Prime Minister. Earlier, we also heard what Prime Minister Narendra Modi said in his address. And here are the visuals wherein Prime Minister Narendra Modi is interacting with the students. It's always a very special, a very natural and organic gesture by the Indian community whenever Prime Minister Narendra Modi visits anywhere in the country. The warm welcome that he receives is such a delight to watch, and which also tells a lot about the popularity of Prime Minister Narendra Modi across the world, and which further tells about India's stature on the global map. We heard yesterday when Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrived in Oman after his successful visits from Jordan and Ethiopia, he was given a very warm welcome by the Indian community with the cultural performances, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi also appreciated those cultural performances. And you know, as far as the people-to-people connect is concerned, it play a very pivotal, a very crucial role when it comes to the ties between both countries. And here on your screens, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is interacting with the students, and like I just mentioned, it's a very, very natural, very organic, very beautiful gesture, because you know, personally, we also covered Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit in Guyana and Namibia, and the kind of enthusiasm the crowd has, it certainly cannot be expressed in words. When people with tricolor in their hands, they chant Modi, Modi every time, and the Indian community just want to shake hands with Prime Minister Narendra Modi. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi in return also, you know, reciprocate. And he also shakes hands and asks about how they are doing in the country. You know, it tells a lot about how India in the past 10-11 years has progressed over the years. Such a beautiful gesture that was, Prime Minister Narendra Modi interacting with the students in Muscat. And like I said, this is a very, very significant visit by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, as both Oman and India are celebrating 70 years of diplomatic ties. The entire gamut of bilateral relationship will be discussed, and there are several MOUs which are expected to be signed, and on different fronts: defense, energy, people-to-people, cultural connect. Everything will get a fillip with this visit by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The news and updates will continue on Deepening India. You stay tuned.